Have you ever felt that crushing silence when a man who once couldn't stop texting you suddenly vanishes into thin air? One day he's into you, and the next, it's like you never existed. You overanalyze every word, every emoji, every pause in the conversation, wondering, did I do something wrong? Did I say too much? If this sounds familiar, stop right here, because this video is going to shift your entire perspective. Welcome. You're in the right place if you're tired of feeling confused, rejected, or powerless when a man pulls away. Because today, I'm not just telling you what's happening. I'm going to hand you the exact strategy to flip the script, regain your confidence, and watch him second guess walking away from you. We're diving into psychologically backed techniques that don't involve begging, chasing, or compromising your self-worth. You'll discover how to take a step back, not out of fear, but from a place of calm power, and that's when the magic happens. In the next few minutes, you'll learn why men disconnect emotionally, the silent moves that make them instantly reevaluate their choices, and how to show up as the high-value woman he can't ignore. So before you text him again, pause. Watch this first, because when you respond the right way, not only does he feel the loss, you become unforgettable. This isn't just another dating video. This is the moment you take your energy back. And when you do, trust me, he'll feel it. Let's begin. It's one of the most painful shifts in dating or relationships. 1 minute, things feel exciting, connected, maybe even headed somewhere serious, and then suddenly he pulls away. The calls slow down, the texts get shorter, the energy changes. You feel it instantly. And yet, when you ask yourself why, there's no obvious answer. Here's the truth. When a man starts ignoring you, it's almost never about a single thing you said or did. It's about how he's perceiving his role in the connection, and more importantly, how he feels about himself in it. When a man pulls away, it's often because the emotional intensity has caught him off guard. Many men are conditioned to crave freedom and independence more than emotional depth. So when the relationship begins to feel emotionally significant, it can spark a subtle fear in him, fear of losing control, of being vulnerable, of not being enough. Another reason he may pull back is because he senses a shift in energy. If you begin to lean in too hard, overinvest emotionally, or center your self-worth around his validation, he will feel it. That pressure, even if unspoken, can trigger resistance. Men are naturally drawn to women who are in their own power, who are emotionally balanced, not emotionally dependent. Sometimes he's not ready for the version of you that's showing up. If you're evolving, becoming more self-aware, or expressing your needs clearly, that can be intimidating for a man who's still stuck in emotional immaturity. And yes, sometimes he simply loses interest. But even in those cases, the right response isn't to chase or fix. It's to step into your value, your space, and your silence. Because when you stop trying to pull him back, you give him space to feel the consequences of letting you go. The point is, his silence doesn't define your worth. It reflects where he is emotionally. And by understanding that, you shift from reacting emotionally to responding powerfully. You stop wondering what you did wrong and start recognizing what kind of energy you truly deserve. When a man pulls away, your reaction is your power, and most women give it away too quickly. But not you, not anymore. Let's keep going. When a man pulls away or starts ignoring you, the emotional response is almost immediate and intense. The uncertainty, the silence, the feeling of rejection, it can be overwhelming. And in that state, even the most confident woman can start making critical mistakes without realizing it. One of the most common mistakes is overtexting. The moment communication drops, many women try to fill the gap with more messages, more check-ins, more effort. It comes from a good place, wanting clarity, wanting to fix the energy. But to him, it can feel like pressure or emotional demand. That only pushes him further away. Another mistake is assuming blame too quickly. The thought process goes something like, what did I do wrong? Was I too much? Did I scare him off? This leads to over-apologizing or downplaying your feelings just to make him feel more comfortable. But shrinking yourself to keep someone around never works in the long run. It teaches him that distance equals control. Then there's the prove your worth trap, where you start overcompensating, doing more, showing up harder, or subtly competing for his attention. You might dress differently, post more on social media, or go out of your way to show you're desirable. But when it's not rooted in authenticity, he can feel that it's performative and it loses its impact. Some women also go to the opposite extreme, pretending they don't care at all, using silence as a weapon instead of a boundary. This creates emotional games, and while it might get a reaction, it doesn't build connection. It builds confusion. The truth is, when a man withdraws, your instincts often tell you to do something. But in most cases, the most powerful thing you can do is pause, observe, and reconnect with your center. Because real strength isn't in reacting, it's in holding your ground when your emotions are begging you to chase. Mistakes don't make you weak, they make you human. The key is recognizing them early and shifting the pattern before it becomes self-sabotage. This is the part where most women lose their power. But if you're watching this, you're already choosing a different path, and that changes everything. Let's keep going, because the strategy coming next, it's where the shift truly begins. When a man pulls away, silence feels like the enemy. It's uncomfortable, heavy, and full of questions. Your instinct might be to reach out, to fix it, to reconnect, anything to avoid the unknown. But here's something most women never get taught. Sometimes the most powerful move you can make is to do absolutely nothing. Doing nothing isn't passive. It's not about giving up, being cold, or playing hard to get. It's a deliberate, empowered decision to not react. And in many cases, it's the exact shift that turns the entire dynamic around. Here's why it works. When a man pulls away, his emotional space expands. He steps back to process, to evaluate, or sometimes to escape. If you rush in to fill that space, texting more, checking in, chasing closure, you deny him the one thing he truly needs in that moment: contrast. The ability to feel your absence. That space allows him to notice what's missing. And if you've been showing up as your best, most grounded self, that absence hits harder than any message you could send. Doing nothing also sends a clear signal. You're not emotionally dependent on his attention. You're not shaken by his silence. You don't need to force a connection that's meant to flow. That type of energy is magnetic. It speaks volumes without saying a word. Here's the truth most people avoid. People value what they risk losing. When you immediately chase after someone who withdraws, you remove the risk. You reassure them too quickly. You let them feel safe in ignoring you. That's not love. That's emotional imbalance. Now, this doesn't mean you suppress your feelings. It means you pause. You reflect. You choose not to react from insecurity, but from inner peace. You create a boundary, silently but clearly, that says, if you want to pull away, I'll let you. But I won't chase you there. And guess what? The right men notice, the wrong ones fade. Either way, you win. Doing nothing is the opposite of helplessness. It's restraint. It's poise. It's confidence in your value. It's the understanding that your worth doesn't fluctuate based on someone else's confusion. It's not easy. Sitting in silence, choosing stillness when everything in you wants to act, is one of the hardest things to do. But it's also one of the most transformational, because in that stillness you stop leaking your energy and start reclaiming it. You're not punishing him, you're protecting you. And if he wants to come back, he'll return to a woman who didn't crumble when he left, but stood tall in her grace. Remember, not every action needs a reaction. Sometimes your greatest power is found in what you don't do. And that power, it's yours now. Let's keep going. The next step builds directly on this. Your first instinct might be to figure out how to bring him back. But most women approach this the wrong way, through logic, persuasion, or emotion. Here's the truth. Attraction doesn't respond to pressure. It responds to psychological triggers. Subtle signals that speak to a man's core needs and instincts, often without a single word being exchanged. One of the most powerful triggers is the fear of loss. Not because you threaten to leave, but because you genuinely show that you're not waiting around. When a man senses that you are capable of walking away with dignity, without bitterness or games, it triggers something primal. He realizes that your presence in his life is a privilege, not a guarantee. That awareness activates his pursuit instinct. He starts wondering, what if I really lose her? Another powerful trigger is emotional unpredictability. Not being cold or inconsistent, but not being entirely predictable either. If he knows exactly how you'll respond, if your energy becomes routine, the mystery fades. Men are drawn to a sense of curiosity and challenge. By living your life fully, staying in your purpose, and not making him the center of your emotional world, you become intriguing again. He starts asking, what is she up to? Does she even miss me? Then there's the mirror effect, where you subtly reflect his behavior back at him without confrontation. If he pulls away, you create space. If he's silent, you don't rush to fill the gap. It doesn't mean you're playing games. It means you're respecting his energy and matching it with grace. This reflection causes him to become aware of the distance he's creating, and it can lead him to self-correct without you ever having to fix the situation. Another powerful trigger is self-contained confidence. This isn't about being loud or overly independent. It's about quietly radiating the message. I know who I am. I know what I bring. I don't chase what's not choosing me. Men may not always be able to articulate it, but they feel it deeply. That kind of presence creates an emotional imprint. They remember you, even in your silence. And finally, there's the trigger of comparison. When you detach and start focusing on your own happiness, posting a picture smiling, showing up grounded and glowing, he sees you moving forward. That activates a deep internal shift. He begins comparing the feeling of being with you versus the emptiness of your absence. That contrast alone can reignite desire. The goal isn't to manipulate, it's to inspire awareness. When you stop trying to pull him in and instead return to your center, you naturally activate the psychological levers that make a man feel drawn back to you. These triggers work not because you're trying harder, but because you're no longer trying at all, you're being. And that shift in energy, it's undeniable. Let's keep going, because what comes next is how you use this mindset to respond without ever losing your dignity. The silence can feel like rejection. It's tempting to send that extra text, ask if something's wrong, or reach for reassurance just to quiet the anxiety. But here's the thing, your response in these moments shapes how he sees you. It either reinforces your value or signals insecurity. And the line between the two? It's subtle, but powerful. The key to responding without seeming desperate isn't about pretending you don't care. It's about responding from self-respect, not fear. Desperation speaks when we feel we're losing something valuable and assume we must act fast to save it. But you're not losing anything that's truly meant for you. And once you start believing that, your energy changes completely. Let's say he's gone cold. You haven't heard from him in days. The mistake many women make is either chasing, sending emotional paragraphs, asking why, or going completely silent with anger. Neither response works. One pressures, the other punishes. Instead, take a moment to breathe and ground yourself. If you feel compelled to respond, keep it light, brief, and self-assured. A simple message like, "Hey, I noticed you've been quiet. Hope everything's okay on your end. I've been keeping busy, just wanted to check in." That's not needy. That's clear, emotionally intelligent, and shows you're not waiting by the phone. But don't follow up if he doesn't engage. Let the space do the talking. You're signaling, "I noticed, but I'm not chasing." That energy is powerful because it's calm, mature, and rare. Another option. Say nothing. If someone pulls back without explanation, it's okay to match that energy. Not to be cold, but to protect your peace. Silence isn't weakness, it's clarity. It shows that you respect yourself enough not to beg for attention or fight for crumbs. When he does reach out again, because often they do, your tone should still reflect confidence, not resentment. You're not punishing him, but you're also not making it easy to pick back up where he left off. Let him earn that space again. Your time, your emotional availability, your softness, they are privileges, not defaults. Also, avoid over-explaining your worth. If you feel tempted to prove why he should choose you, pause. Your value doesn't live in convincing. It lives in how you carry yourself when someone acts uncertain about you. Desperation says, "I need you to choose me so I feel okay." Confidence says, "I'm okay, no matter what you choose." That mindset creates emotional gravity. It pulls people in, not because you're trying to get them back, but because they feel the shift in you. So if you're wondering how to respond when he pulls away, Here it is. Don't react. Reflect. Respond with dignity. Hold your value. Say less, mean more. The silence between words often says more than any message ever could. Let's keep going, because now we step into the strategy that mirrors his actions without ever lowering your standards. The mirror effect is one of the most subtle yet powerful strategies you can use when a man begins to pull away. It doesn't involve confrontation, manipulation, or guessing what he's thinking. It's about reflecting his energy back to him, calmly, confidently, and without chasing, and letting your silence speak just as loudly as your words ever could. Here's what most women do. When a man withdraws, they lean in harder. They try to compensate for his emotional distance by giving more attention, more affection, more effort. The intention comes from a good place, but the result, it throws off the balance of the relationship. He becomes the one with the space and the control, while you become the one constantly reaching for reassurance. The mirror effect flips that dynamic. It means you match what he gives. If he slows communication, you slow yours. If he stops calling, you don't pick up the phone either. If he backs away emotionally, you gently pull your energy inward too. Not in a spiteful or punishing way, but in a way that honors your own value. Why is this so effective? Because people tend to become aware of their behavior when they see it mirrored back at them. When you stop over-functioning in the relationship and simply meet him where he is, he's forced to sit with the space he's created. That's where realization happens. The mirror effect also protects your energy. Instead of overextending, you shift your focus back to yourself, your goals, your joy, your life. You remain present, but not overly available. That contrast is compelling. It's quiet strength, and it reminds him that your presence is not a given. This isn't about playing games. It's about emotional balance. If a man is inconsistent, you don't need to call it out right away. You just reflect it and let him feel the impact. If he cares, he'll notice. If he doesn't, his silence tells you everything you need to know. The beauty of this strategy is that it puts the responsibility back where it belongs. You're no longer managing his feelings or trying to hold the connection together by yourself. You're simply observing, responding with equal energy, and maintaining your self-respect no matter what. And here's the kicker. The mirror effect often triggers a response faster than any message ever could. When a man feels that shift, that you're not pushing, not chasing, not emotionally chasing closure, he feels the absence, and in that space, curiosity returns. Interest reignites. The emotional imbalance resets. So instead of fighting for clarity or begging for attention, try mirroring. Reflect his energy, hold your boundaries, and let his own behavior reveal the truth. It's not cold, it's conscious, and it works. Up next, we're diving into how to rebuild your value in his eyes without asking for it, proving it, or demanding it. Rebuilding your value in a man's eyes isn't about becoming someone else or working harder to impress him. It's about returning to the version of yourself that was magnetic from the very beginning. The version he was first drawn to before the emotional tension, overgiving, or anxiety took over. When a man starts to ignore you or pulls away, it's easy to lose sight of your own worth. But regaining it starts with one simple shift. Stop making him the center of your story. Most women try to rebuild value by proving something, by showing they're supportive, loyal, patient, always available. But the truth is, that kind of overextension often has the opposite effect. Instead of seeing you as high value, he begins to see you as emotionally dependent. And value to a man is connected to how centered you feel in your own life, with or without him. Rebuilding your value means redirecting your focus inward. Get back to doing the things that make you feel alive. Prioritize your passions, your friendships, your personal growth. When you shift your energy from trying to be chosen to simply choosing yourself, your entire aura changes, and men feel that even from a distance. It also means setting subtle boundaries, not in a dramatic or harsh way, but in a calm, self-assured one. If he texts you after disappearing for days, don't reply instantly. If he wants to meet last minute, it's okay to say you're unavailable. These small acts of self-respect send a loud message. I have a life, and I don't revolve around uncertainty. Another way to rebuild your value is to stop chasing emotional clarity. Let your actions speak for you. Confidence isn't loud. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is remain unbothered. Let him come to the realization on his own. Because when he sees that you're not waiting, not begging, not playing games, you become rare, and rare is valuable. Also, don't underestimate the power of detachment. When you're not emotionally entangled in his every move, you regain control of your own narrative. You're no longer acting from fear of loss, but from an understanding that you're complete on your own. That energy, it's impossible to ignore. You rebuild your value when you stop needing to prove it. When you show him, through your calm presence and your thriving life, that you're someone he doesn't get to casually come and go from. You become the one he reconsiders, the one who stands out, the one who made him realize what he risked losing. And the best part, you do it all without trying to convince him. You don't force anything. You simply rise, quietly, steadily, powerfully. Now that you're grounded in your worth, the next step is to reignite the spark, without ever lifting a finger to chase him. Reigniting the spark after a man has pulled away doesn't require you to chase him, plead for attention, or try to remind him of what you had. In fact, those behaviors often extinguish whatever flicker of connection is left. Real attraction is never forced. It's sparked through presence, energy, and emotional contrast. If you want him to feel drawn to you again, the first step is not to convince him of your worth, but to embody it. Think back to when the spark was alive. You weren't constantly wondering if he liked you. You weren't trying to manage the connection. You were just being you, present, grounded, effortless. That's the version of you he was attracted to. Not because you were doing something specific, but because your energy was centered in your own life. That's the version of you that reignites desire. Without saying a word. To spark attraction again, step out of the emotional loop that keeps you focused on him. Shift that energy back into yourself. Start doing things that make you feel lit up, creative, fulfilled. Whether it's your career, fitness, art, travel, friendships, or learning something new. When your life is full, your energy becomes magnetic. People, especially men, are drawn to vibrancy. When they see that you're glowing without them, they begin to remember what they once felt in your presence. Be intentional about how you show up. Post that picture where you're smiling, confident, and living your life. Not for validation, but as a reflection of how centered you are. When he sees that you're not chasing, not waiting, not bitter, you immediately stand apart from the crowd. There's a subtle, powerful difference between absence that feels cold and absence that feels inspiring. Be the latter. The key is to reconnect to your own essence, because when you're connected to your purpose, your joy, and your boundaries, your energy shifts from needing him to choosing yourself. And that self-selection is the spark. It's the thing that makes him think, wait, did I misread her? Did I take her for granted? It also helps to respond differently when he does reach out. Instead of diving back in emotionally, respond lightly, calmly, and with warmth, but not over-investment. This creates curiosity. It signals growth. He'll start to wonder what changed. And curiosity, especially about a woman evolving, is often what reignites that original attraction. You don't have to play games. You don't need a script. You just need to remember that you are the spark. He didn't create it. You did. It was always you. And when you return to that version of yourself, you don't chase the fire, you become it. Now let's move into what happens next. How to handle the outcome, especially if he doesn't come back. As we wrap up, it's important to remember that dealing with a man who pulls away is never about controlling him. It's about controlling your own energy and choices. The power you hold is in your ability to stay grounded, maintain your value, and respond with intention rather than reaction. This isn't a game, it's about reclaiming your emotional sovereignty and stepping into your highest self. Your action plan starts with awareness. Notice your reactions without judgment. Are you chasing? Are you shrinking yourself to hold the connection? Awareness is the first step toward change. From there, practice doing nothing when you feel triggered. That pause creates the space for clarity and calm. Use that space to reconnect with your own life and passions. Next, implement the mirror effect. Reflect his energy instead of overgiving it. This isn't about manipulation but balance. If he pulls back, pull back too, calmly and confidently. This strategy protects your peace and gives him room to realize what he's missing without pressure. Focus on rebuilding your value by investing in yourself. Prioritize what lights you up, set healthy boundaries, and remember your worth isn't tied to his attention. When you operate from a place of self-respect, You become magnetic without effort. If the spark has dimmed, reignite it by embodying confidence and vibrancy. Let your life shine through your energy, not through chasing or pleading. Be curious about what makes you happy, and watch how that joy naturally draws others in. Remember, the goal isn't to get him back at all costs. It's to hold your integrity regardless of the outcome. Whether he returns or not, you will be stronger, clearer, and more empowered. Your journey is about growth, not just relationship tactics. By following this plan, you're not only navigating his pullback, you're transforming your relationship with yourself. So take this knowledge and start implementing it today. Hold your boundaries, honor your feelings, and keep shining your light. You deserve respect, love, and connection on your terms. Thank you for watching. If you found value here, like, comment, and subscribe for more guidance. Your empowerment journey starts now.